The Huawei Mate 80 Pro has been out for a minute, but it only just landed here in South Africa, and after spending some time with it, I gotta say, this phone packs in a serious punch for its asking price. You only get the 16GB RAM version here in SA, which is the highest end variant. It'll set you back 22,000 South African Rand, but there's currently an early bird discount on their website. And as with all Huawei phones, box contents are stacked. You get a clear hardshell case, a charging cable, and a 100-watt charging block. And that's very welcoming considering this phone does indeed support 100-watt wire charging, as well as 80-watt wireless and 20-watt reverse wireless, which you can definitely make use of to charge up your buddy's phone, since battery capacity has now jumped up to a whopping 5,750 mAh. I cannot wait to throw this into one of my battery tests. Here in SA, there are just two colors to choose from, black or gold. I have it in gold and it has a stunning dual tone matte finish with that non-magnetic ring on the back, which gives it the dual space ring design name. Pair that with the rather large camera ring and it almost looks like an 8. Mate 80. Get it? Nice touch, Huawei. That backplate is made from a new vegan fiber material, which is silky smooth to the touch, and is supposedly 5 times more impact resistant. The back is now completely flat, and so is the aluminum side rails, which are glossy instead of matte, just like the ring around the camera island. Because of its flat profile, it's now even thinner at just 8mm, and it's lighter in the hand too. The screen is now finally also flat, which makes me very happy. And it's protected by 2nd gen Kunlun glass, which is 20 times more drop resistant than standard glass. And there's now also an IP68 and IP69 dust and water certification, meaning it can now also resist high pressure water jets, but unlike other flagships around, this guy can get dunked a lot deeper at 6 meters for up to 30 minutes. There's a full screen always on display and a very snappy and reliable side mounted fingerprint scanner, just like with the Pura 80 series devices. But there's also 3D face unlock, which is something I've always loved about the Mate series lineup. The actual display is now a 6.75-inch OLED panel with a 1.5K screen resolution. It's now even brighter at 3000 nits, packs in 1440Hz PWM dimming, and it even has a 1 to 120Hz LTPO refresh rate. Before you ask, yes, you can still install Gbox, which allows you to gain access to Google services, including the Play Store and Gemini, which can even be set as your default AI assistant. Speaking of AI, there's still a bunch of useful AI features, including AI noise cancellation for calls, and AI photo features like removing objects from a pic, and best expression to choose your best facial expression for that specific photo. Software overall is very clean. EMUI allows plenty customization options. There's adjustable folders, stackable widgets, and using the UI is very enjoyable thanks to fantastic optimization. Honestly, this phone feels just as snappy, if not more so, than any other flagship out there. There's at least 5 years of software support, NFC for tap to pay, an IR blaster, a USB 3.1 port, with DisplayPort capabilities, which is always good to see, and take all of that and top it off with Huawei's latest in-house built chipset, and the Mate 80 Pro is definitely a powerhouse. And that's thanks to the new 5nm grade Kirin 9030 Pro CPU, which boasts 9 cores with a total of 14 threads, a max clock speed of 2.75 GHz, and now finally includes hardware accelerated ray tracing. So Huawei have definitely stepped up their game, and it shows when running different benchmark tests, especially in Antutu and multi-core scores in Geekbench. GPU scores have also increased, and while scores aren't as impressive as other flagship chipsets, it hardly matters when optimizations are this good. Like I said before, this phone feels just as fast and just as fluid as anything else out there, and gaming performance has also stepped up. There's also 16 gigs of LPDDR5X RAM, 512 gigs of UFS 4.1 storage, and to top it off is Huawei's new super cool dual phase change heat dissipation cooling system, which is actually an industry first. And throughout all of my gaming sessions, I honestly barely ever noticed the phone warm up in my hands. Unfortunately, I couldn't get a real-time FPS meter to work because of lack of wireless debugging, so the FPS that you're seeing here is just the screen refresh rate. But from what I can tell, these games are all running at their max available FPS without any noticeable stutters or frame drops. Genshin Impact ran extremely smoothly on maxed out graphical settings. And even Wuthering Waves played extremely well with all settings cranked up. And that's saying a lot considering this game is pretty much the benchmark for mobile gaming. Honestly, Wuthering Waves ran a lot more stable than many other flagships I've tested out, and it kept things a lot cooler. But unfortunately, like with most Huawei phones, Call of Duty Mobile is capped at 90 FPS, despite the game having support for 120, but as always, frame rates felt very consistent throughout my playthrough. Haptics feel flagship level, just like you'd expect, and the dual stereo speaker system is probably the best I've heard. There's incredible 3D audio effects when in a game, bass is so impactful that I feel the speaker vibrations running through my hands, there is so much depth and clarity, and they get more than loud enough. Huawei seriously know what they're doing in terms of speaker tuning and performance optimizations, and adding in ray tracing is a pretty big deal for Huawei phones in general. But do they know what they're doing in terms of camera performance? Well, that's last on the list, but it's certainly not least. So let's get into it. There's a 13 megapixel selfie camera with autofocus on the front, alongside a TOF 3D sensor for depth mapping. On the rear, there's a large 50 megapixel main camera with variable aperture and OIS, a 48 megapixel periscope sensor with 4x optical zoom and OIS, a 40 megapixel ultrawide with PDAF, and a new gen true to color camera for more accurate color reproduction. So color accuracy is on point when taking snaps in daylight, and ultrawide pics in general come out looking very good with superb detail and minimal edge distortion. It's honestly been a while since I've seen such good ultrawide results. That true color cam works wonders with the main as well in terms of color accuracy, but the main sensor has a lot more going for it in terms of detail within color. Dynamic range, sheer clarity, and fantastic immersion and exposure compensation. The periscope presents proper results too with its native 4x optical zoom. Telephotos are usually my favorite cameras to use on phones, and the Mate 80 Pro does not disappoint at this focal length. And since this is labeled as a macro telephoto camera, there's of course a super macro mode, but get this, it has a minimum focus distance of just 5 centimeters. That's gotta be the lowest I've ever seen. Detail is impeccable, and you can even dial in all the way up to 40x zoom within macro mode. Using regular photo mode lets you jump all the way up to 100x digital zoom, but results aren't exactly the best. At least 10x lossless zoom still retains plenty detail. There is a portrait mode option for the main and periscope, but there's also something called aperture mode which lets you fine-tune the physical aperture of the main sensor, and shots come out very near perfect. I always prefer hardware-driven soft focus instead of software-based, and this proves how superior it is. The periscope also produces incredible looking snaps. The selfie camera takes very good regular photos during the day, but portrait mode is a bit too copy-paste for my liking, and there's no way to adjust the background blur. Portrait mode looks a bit better at night, but edge detection is questionable. Standard selfies are still great at night though. Taking aperture shots with the rear main and periscope sensor at night are very well lit and pack in loads of detail. My only gripe is tonal range correction when it comes to the RYYB main camera, which tends to oversaturate skin tones. But I'm sure a future software update will correct this. Light noise is handled decently with the ultrawide, a lot more so than other ultrawide sensors I've tested in the past. And color accuracy and detail is still fantastic even in a dim lit situation. The main camera continues to impress me even at night, with pinpoint white balance and warm colorful detail, with a decent amount of dynamic range for nice cinematic looking shots. The periscope tends to produce the most natural looking colors at night, and detail and depth is still very much apparent in a dark scene. And just like with day shots, 10x lossless zoom is decent, but higher zoom levels tend to fall off a bit. Using the ultrawide to shoot video drops the focal length down to 12mm for a 0.4x wide angle, so it captures pretty much everything that you can see, and it does it very well, and very stable, at a solid 4K 60fps. The main camera can shoot video at 4K 60fps as well, and the level of detail is just next level. Everything is in detailed, sharp focus from top to bottom, and stability is also very controlled. The periscope offers an equal amount of detail at the same 4K resolution and 60 frames per second. and I was very impressed to see how well it performed while panning. There is still a very slow 960 FPS option at 1080p when shooting slow motion video, but there is still no 4K slow-mo option, and it's still limited to only the main cam regardless of what frame rate is being used. But even then, slow motion detail is very good, and the actual effect is probably the best around given that very smooth, very high frame rate. There is still no portrait video mode, but there is an aperture video mode which is better since you can physically adjust the aperture of the main cam, producing DSLR-like bokeh. However, the main and periscope don't even need a special mode due to their large sensor sizes and wide apertures, allowing standard 4K video to look even better. Alright, so I'm currently using wide mode with the selfie camera, and we can shoot silky smooth 60 FPS at crystal clear 4K resolution, which is great to see, though unfortunately there is still no portrait video mode option when using the selfie camera. Not that it really needs it though, I mean this looks so good. Let me know your thoughts of the video quality as well as the microphone performance. Selfie video during the day looked incredible, and it's good to see 4K 60, but 30 FPS is preferred at night for extra exposure, and while selfie video at night isn't perfect, it's still a lot better than most flagships when trying to do the same thing. Tonal range with nighttime video is a lot better than when compared to when we took photos at the same scene. Aperture video still looks good, but again, standard 4K video is still the best option here in terms of clarity. The ultra-wide doesn't exactly handle light noise the best when shooting nighttime video, but it's still plenty detailed, very stable, and there's practically no noise grain particles at all. Shooting 4K video with the main sensor at night produces a bit of lens flare, but that's pretty normal with so many lights in the scene. Light noise is handled better than the ultra-wide, detail is even better, and stability is great. The best thing about it is its incredible use of dynamic range and lack of noise grain. And I was not expecting periscope video to look this good at night. Again, light noise handling isn't perfect, but the detail it provides at night is seriously good. There is once again no noise grain, and stability and panning is just as good at night as it was during the day. There are a few setbacks here and there, like further focal length zoom shots, as well as tonal mapping, but those can definitely be improved with software. Honestly, I was not expecting the cameras on this phone to be so good, but they are, and they complement everything else that's so good about this phone. Performance is significantly better than past Huawei flagships, with very stable gameplay and incredible heat dissipation thanks to that new cooling system. Software is optimized very well, and this thing honestly feels just as fluid, if not more so, than other flagships on the market. The display is stunning and is now finally flat, just like its side frames and backplate, giving it a very good feel in the hand, especially with its top-notch build quality and protection. It has a massive battery with very fast wired and wireless charging. It looks absolutely gorgeous and packs in a serious punch when it comes to camera performance. The only reason I could think that you wouldn't want to buy one is due to the lack of Google services, but Gbox works exceptionally well, and even without 5G in certain markets, 4G plus speeds are still very fast. And with everything else that this phone has to offer, which we just went through right now, this is a lot of phone for a very fair price. As always, this is TechNick, and I'll catch you in the next one.